Webinar is now streaming live on, well, it says we're live. Isn't that great? Hello, hello. It's 4 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Central, and we're now here in Central Time, here in Costa Rica. 7 o'clock on the East Coast. I think it's midnight in Dublin. Oh, yeah, it's midnight in Dublin, 1 a.m. in Milan and most of Europe, 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. Wednesday morning in Australia, 11:30 a.m. in New Zealand, and it's Facebook Live. Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you, and we are here together right now, aren't we? Yes. Yes. And our special guest was my good friend, Dr. Madiha Saeed, and she is just a powerhouse. Madiha, it's great to see you.
Thank you so much. I am incredibly honored. I remember, when I didn't learn any of this stuff and I was just starting, you were the flame underneath that fire that really helped me bloom. So I can't thank you enough you are one of my heroes. So anytime that I'm here with you, it is incredible honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I am also honored because you're doing something that no one else in the world is doing, is that you are teaching and writing and publishing books for an audience of children. And how to take care of our children. Now, you've got 2 new books that we're going to talk about tonight. And one of them is for adults about how to raise children like Geo and like your kids. And thank you so much, TheHolistic Rx for kids. And it's a fabulous book. And then the other book is for kids. So we're going to talk about both of them. Here comes the rainbow. Everybody hears me talk about the rainbow diet, but now we're going to talk about how to explain it to kids.
Absolutely. And it's so important because we got to start our kids off younger. We have to give them enough credit. I don't feel like we give children enough credit. My kids know exactly what happens as soon as they put that bite in their mouth, what happens to their biological functions, their hormones, their insulin, their gut microbiome. So we got to start young, because if the kids can be playing video games and doing all these other things that are really complex, that sometimes I don't even get, they can do this.
Now, I'm hearing some minds out there hearing that and saying, I don't want my kid to have to learn about hormones. That's ridiculous. I don't even know about hormones. Well, that's why you've got diabetes or high blood pressure, is because you don't know. And so we are going to make sure as best we can that the next generation is educated. They are so smart. I mean, every day, every day there's something new. There's just something new in how he's processing. He came up with a couple new words today. Oh. Every day is something new, and it's just fun. It's just fun to be with them. And if we understand this, we actually can guide our children into Absolutely. How to. Can you find Marzi will find Facebook on my phone so that I can do a shout out to people. And as you have questions, just put your questions in the Q&A, and the team will bring them up here so that we can answer them. So how did you go about writing a children's book for children?
For children, so that one. My journey really started when I had almost a near-death experience with my 10-month-old child. Now he's 14, so this started a while back. I actually walked into my daycare provider where she was actually suffocating him almost to death. And at that time,
What do you mean suffocating him?
So, okay, now I got to go the story. So my husband had this gut inclination. He goes, can you go please check up on my 10-month-old at daycare? And I was going to just push it off. But then I'm like, okay, we were newly married. I'll keep him out. I was appeased. I walked on over there and I walked into every mother's worst nightmare. The daycare providers, was rocking back and forth. The lights were dimmed. The eerie silence was actually broken by my child's in the back. And I walked back there, and in a bouncer seat, his arms and legs were tied down with the receiving blanket. His pacifier was in his mouth. His Winnie the Pooh blanket was wrapped so tightly around his face that he was suffocating almost to death. And she admitted to it. I know. And eyes bloodshot, face swollen. I immediately picked him up and ran out. On that day, I made a solemn promise because God saved my child that day. And I made a solemn promise that I promise I'm going to take care of these kids the best that I know how. But wait, me as a family physician, I'm completely falling apart. Lupus, Hashimoto's, digestive issues, chronic eczema, acne, even shingles.
Wait. So you were suffering with these things.
Yes, I was suffering with these things. And so I continued on the hamster wheel like we all do, just trying to keep my head above water because I was a new mom, a new wife, a new resident. Me and my husband were both working 80-hour work weeks. And I was just trying to, just get back hour to hour, just trying to get past it. And not until this happened, and I had to really take a step back and say, you know what, I need to take care of myself. And this is where, Dr. Tom, I started to really research, integrative, holistic, functional approaches. I was still right now learning. And that's where I did come across your gluten summit. And I'm like, what? There's so much here that they don't teach us. And I started to implement that on myself, dealing with autoimmune conditions. And the midst, I was already studying parenting in residency. I even taught parenting to the residents in my hospital. But then when I really dove into this world, and I kid you not, the first exposure I had was your summit. And that's when I was like blown away. I was blown away. And that has literally ignited the fire where I'm just continuing to help spread this message any way I possibly can. And because my kids were younger at this time, I was starting to incorporate everything I learned from you to the children. And then now combining it with the parenting that I was already studying. And that's when, like, slowly but surely it compiled on. It just blew my mind. And this is now my biggest mission.
Marvelous. Well, thank you for sharing such a profound story. I mean, that's you've been in the trenches. You've been down in the trenches, deep in the trenches.
Absolutely. I was deep in the trenches, and I really wanted to. Then that's why Holistic Mom MD came about, as I was learning from all these amazing experts and reading the books and really learning from my colleagues. I then started wanting to this was something I really wanted to do, create a children's book for children. But first, my first book is called TheHolistic Rx, Your Guide to Healing Chronic Inflammation and Disease. And then I'm like, next one, children's book series, because we got to start to empower our children to be more mindful, resilient.
Amen. That's primary on my list also. Historically and traditionally, I always do some shout outs on Facebook Live. So the first one that wrote in today was Jillian in Cleveland. Hello, Jillian. Thanks so much. Wanda's here from Long Island. Charlene's here from Fort Lauderdale. Steph is here from Missouri. Melissa's in Virginia. Janet's in Michigan. Quincy says, I love that you've made these for kids. I would love to add these to our household, our homeschool bookshelf. Amen, Quincy. And we'll put the link here for the books so that you've got direct access to them. Sharon says, thought the topic was inflammation and disease tonight. Sharon, that is the Base Hits program that was supposed to be last night. And unfortunately, we had technical difficulties. I came on and there was no one there. There was absolutely no one. And my staff said, well, there's no one here. And we found out it was a technical thing. So the inflammation base hits that you've registered for and all of that, that will be next week, Monday of next week, same time. And for those that are interested, we'll post a link in here to what the base hits is all about. It's a year-long education program I'm doing for people. So sorry, Sharon, for the confusion. Hope you stick around to learn more about feeding kids and grandkids. So we're going to talk about how do grandparents get this information to their resistant children. And I know you've got a few ideas on that, Dr. Saeed. I know you do. Laura's here from Oregon. That's our own Laura. Hi, Laura. Thanks so much. Our own at theDr.com. Yes. Leslie says, precious little guy, eating clean is paramount. So Pandora's box is not open to autoimmune diseases. That's exactly right, Leslie. You don't become vulnerable to autoimmune diseases until you cross a threshold. It's called loss of oral tolerance. And it happens in every autoimmune disease. that you're not born with the disease, you're born with a genetic vulnerability perhaps, but you have to push against that boundary, push against that boundary, push. And at some point you lose tolerance. And when you cross over, now the mechanism to start the autoimmune disease begins. And so you're absolutely right about that, about Pandora's box. Barbara says, welcome, Dr. Madiha Saeed, and 2 exclamation points. Connie says, hello, Connie and Jackie here from North Carolina. Shanquila, who always has great questions. She says, hello, are products that are gluten-free but made in facilities that handle wheat safe? What about things like canned beans that theoretically shouldn't have gluten? Dr. Saeed, would you like to start with that question?
Absolutely. The gluten-free, because there could be a lot of cross-contamination. It really needs to have like certified gluten-free written on it, because there could be a lot of cross-contamination. That's
Right.
what my
Right. That's so important, especially with oats. You know, the message is when oats grow out of the ground, there's no toxic gluten in them. But when you buy oats off the shelf, there's often toxic gluten in them, and it's contamination. So those that are certified gluten-free oats are safer. But even then, you know, the whole gluten-free product market is a walking bomb.
Seriously.
Like walking through a minefield.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just white paste.
Absolutely.
There's no health benefits. Now, I'm half Italian. I'm going to eat gluten-free pasta once in a while. Live with it, right?
Yes.
But there's things you have to do to protect yourself. And that's what the whole dynamic of these digestive enzymes that we've put together are all about.
I love it.
If you have any gut symptoms, bloating, gas, gut pain, then E3 Advanced Plus is the one for you. If you don't have any gut symptoms, but you're trying to go gluten-free, then Wheat Rescue is the one for you. And we'll put links in there for all of that for you guys so that you can watch a video about that. Brandy says, ditto, his gluten info is top notch. Oh, thank you, Brandy. That's really great. Terry says, hello from San Diego. Home is here from California. Kelly's here, says, hello, Dr. Tom from Indiana. Hi, Kelly. Barbara says, hello from Texas, y'all. Hey, Barbara, thank you for that. And Peggy's in West Bloomfield. My brother lives in West Bloomfield. Great town, great town. Quincy Benson says, Mindy Anderson, here's my favorite doctor. Oh, well, thank you, Quincy. And that's Dr. Saeed, or maybe me, but or how about both of us? That's even better. Right? Barbara says, welcome, Dr. Madiha Saeed. Barb from Washington Township, Michigan. Great. Lilu's here from LA, and the list goes on and on and on. So we'll be going to your questions as they come in. So Dr. Saeed, you've got this great paradigm that you've built in your family where your children are so well educated, they screen what they put in their mouth all the time.
Absolutely.
And you started to touch on that by saying, you know, our children need to understand. And so how does a parent do that? How do they get started?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. I've sort of coined it holistic parenting. And we are mind, body, soul. Our children are mind, body, soul. So holistic parenting really helps to nurture a child's mind, body, and soul from the inside out with those skills that they need for emotional intelligence, enduring deeper friendships, you know, making and being resilient all through life. And it all really comes by, you know, holistic parenting that helps to raise these mindful children. And remember, mindfulness allows us to see our internal and external environment clearly, showing us how best to respond and be fully aware at multiple levels of perception all at once.
Yes.
So holistic parenting really helps to, you know, with education and empowering our child to be more mindful of their bodies, their brains, their emotions, social lives, environments, learning how to really keep it all in balance. And when it does start to sway a little bit here and there, they're able to recognize it and then fix what they need to fix or talk to you about what could be going on. and really examining their own lifestyles first and foremost, increasing the resilience in any situation or environment that they're given. So
Yes.
holistic parenting really helps to influence, child's DNA and mitochondria and microbiome and their immune system and even their brains, helping them make more rational decisions. We know that our child is their brain, and there's two main pieces of their decision making. That's their prefrontal cortex and their amygdala. The prefrontal cortex makes those rational decision making, examines the pros versus the con, and then the amygdala is the irrational, the fight and flight type of decision making. And you need both of those pieces in order to make a rational decision, and for your children to not act like crazy lunatics. No, I'm kidding. But like where you can truly talk to them like a human being, you need those pieces to work together. But unfortunately, our imbalanced lifestyles is actually disconnecting our prefrontal cortex from amygdala. And so it really does start, you asked me about, food and how they read labels. It really does start with that education and empowering, because they can read a label and they have no idea what it is. But when you take them to the grocery store with you and say, they're like, Mama, everybody has this kind of chip. And I'm like, okay, let's read the ingredients of that kind of chip. And then I'm like, oh, but let's see what this one looks very similar. And what about this? Let's read the ingredients. Which ones do you understand? And which one do you not understand? And once they say, oh, like, Mama, there's red number 40 here. Okay, so what is that? So we'll go back home and we'll go online, we'll research it, and we'll look at the studies. They're like, Mama, this is like really bad for the brain and the health and cancers. They're like, do you want to put that in your body? Like, no, Mom, I don't want to put that in my body. And if they do,
what you're doing is what we at theDr.com have been trying to do for 40 years with adults.
Yes. So why don't we start with kids, right? Early.
Right. So you're talking, like, for everyone that's here tonight who's gone through that experience to one degree or another. Mm-hmm. Geo, right?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Oh, he had a light bulb in his hand, but Marzi just said it's plastic. So
okay.
So what you're talking about is what we do with adults who finally cross the line of tolerance. They've had enough, they've got some health conditions. They say, all right, whatever it takes, I've tried X, it doesn't work. And then we have to walk them through, read labels, what's red dye number 40, you don't know, okay, let's go home and look. And okay, it's time. When my son is calling out, my mind just goes there.
Okay. I actually work better with the kids jumping on my back.
Come here. Okay, no, he wants to stay with his mommy now. So okay.
They told him geckos.
Ah, okay. Hugo's thing now is geckos. He looks for geckos all day.
So
and
cute.
Right around twilight, the geckos come out. And
very cute.
He's all jumping up and down. So, but what you're saying, see, my mind, if I'm watching this as an adult, my mind would say, well, but you have to be an adult to understand this. Mm-hmm. So what's the experience when you've had this approach with children? What have you seen?
So much empowerment. Because now children are able to recognize when they're starting to slip off balance. Let me give you an example of what happens in my own house. And I know I've shared this before, but it gives a really great, powerful example that, you continue to have these conversations, because remember, every conversation, every hug, your stresses, the food, all play a role in your child's brain development and slowly starts to sink in. And if you continue to have these conversations with them and then you role model this yourself, it really does stick. So years before, my 7-year-old, he came downstairs to eat sauerkraut for breakfast. And I said, why are you eating sauerkraut? He goes, Mama, I woke up this morning and I felt a little agitated. And I wanted to help the friends in my belly feel better so that I can feel better. And so he was able to recognize, oh, this is something that I'm not normally feeling this way because of that mindfulness on all these aspects. I'm always, when they go to the bathroom at the beginning, I'd be like, oh, diarrhea, what do you think could be going on? And so everything, or these symptoms, are basically your body talking to you. And that's what I started with very young, that if, oh, you have eczema, what is your body trying to tell you? These are not good or bad. It's what is your body trying to tell you? And so even this agitation that my 7-year-old woke up and said, I felt a little agitated, it was probably because of the organic sugar I had at Anna's house yesterday. And so I want to now feed the good bugs, so then when that I feel better, they feel better, I feel better.
Marvelous.
And same with, meditation. I walked into my 10-year-old meditating on their own. And later when I talked about it, they're like, Mama, I wanted to put my nervous system back into balance. I just felt like, I was like, what? This is craziness. So these are easy skills that we don't have to make it too complicated.
Yeah.
But just what happens to the food, talk about the friends in our belly and how that we need to keep them happy to keep us happy, and stress management, and incorporate this into their daily routine. So all of these things that we do talk to our patients about, now we do ourselves. I think because I was role modeling this behavior, I was talking to them about it, I was educating them, and we were making it interactive by going to the store and checking things out, looking at our products and seeing what we're putting on our, in and on our bodies. And that really starts to slowly build, just like they do in math. They start with the ABCs or in the 1, 2, 3s, and then they build on top of that. Very similarly, see, that's what I really want to do with these books. You start with the basics, and these books have a little bit more information in them. They will get a little bit more one time. The next time they'll get a little bit more information. The next time they'll get a little bit more information. And same thing, what we as adults do, you gain a little bit more information every time you learn it, and then start to implement it one step at a time.
I was just thinking as you were talking, I said, what great Christmas gifts. What great Christmas gifts these books would be if you're a grandparent to your grandchild. What a great idea. Because I think that many of us hold that we think of the capabilities of our children from our own experience as children. And we don't know that the lifestyle that we were born into suppressed our creativity and suppressed our openness and our connection. And I grew up on Mountain Dew and Kit Kats.
Absolutely.
And Three Musketeers and Kool-Aid and Lick-O-Maid and Kraft Parmesan macaroni and cheese and Chef Boyardee spaghetti. And, I grew up on all that stuff that we now know is, oh my goodness, the dangers of eating that kind of food on a regular basis. Well, at all, but when it's the regular basis, how can you have a beautiful, lush garden when you're putting almost toxic fertilizers on it all day?
Absolutely. And that comes the same with our children. If
Exactly.
we're going to put toxins in this child and junk food in this child and stress and negativity and, lack of nature, how are we going to raise this child into being, having the health that they need, having the energy that they need to change our food system, fix our planet, and even fix the economy? We need leaders. So, but if all the leaders are just going to get sicker and sicker, where's their children going to go? I mean, the statistics are 1 in every 4 children will have autism by 2033. And currently,
Wait. Say that again.
1 in every 4 children will have autism by 2033.
Yeah.
It's craziness. And then the United Nations says we only have 60 harvests left because we don't have that much soil left. Right. And so here, if our children are getting sicker and our planet is getting sicker, what's going to happen to our future? And it's because we're living these imbalanced lifestyles. I grew up with this, you grew up with this, but now we know better. There's so much information out there that we can easily start to incorporate this. And on top of that, it will help our parenting and these children's brains start working better. Their chronic inflammation, we know, hijacks our children's brains. And studies have shown that inflammation was found to decrease the strength of the connection between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. So these children are unable to use their full brain to make a logical decision. They're increased anger, poor relationships, violence, and everybody hates me mentality. And that's exactly what's going on in the world today.
Right.
And researchers actually connect intimately behavior and inflammation. And researchers at Harvard and Columbia looked at a group of 4,000 children, and researchers found that those children with emotional and behavioral problems at the age of 8, they checked their blood at the age of 10, and they had higher levels of C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, which is a pro-inflammatory cytokine that's produced in response to, infection or, any of these inflammatory responses,
Right.
and infections and tissue injuries. And again, that's associated with inflammation in adulthood.
Now,
So craziness. So we got to get our children's lifestyles back into balance and stop feeding them the junk.
Yeah. People who are here are wanting to do that for themselves and their families.
Mm-hmm.
Your focus is on children, which is just so marvelous. Now, what have you told your children about those plants in the background, those mother-in-law tongue plants?
Absolutely. They know. We actually went out ourselves, with them, and said, I'm like, oh, let's look at this NASA study. I know I've heard it from you. So let's look at this NASA study. So I actually have one of these in every room of the house.
Yeah.
And so again, just like
the mother-in-law tongue, that's the name of that plant, yes, in back of your right shoulder, absorbs over 73% of the trichloroethylene in the air inside your house. So in the room, it absorbs a large portion of the toxic crud that's in the air that you can't see, you can't smell, you can't taste, but you're breathing it in all day, every day. And, I saw a study recently in that same limelight and we'll put the link in here. It's theDr.com/plants. And we'll give you the handout that talks about all the plants in that study and what chemicals they absorb and all that. You'll get it. We'll post the link. But another study showed with the plants that look more like green plants, not like mother-in-law's tongue, but just regular looking plants that also absorb toxins, they cut all the leaves off the plants. And so there's only the stalks coming out of the soil. And those plants with just the stalks absorb more toxins than the ones with the leaves.
Wow.
Because it's the bacteria in the soil around the roots of the plant that are pulling the toxins out of the air. They're hungry for those toxins and they convert them into fertilizer for the plant. It's like, what? It's amazing. And so all of those kinds of things we can teach our children.
Absolutely. Just the same stuff we're doing for ourselves to improve our health. We should be doing this with our families.
Yes, yes. There's a question from Janet that asked, does the book address picky eaters?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Great. I'm going to do a couple more of the shout outs that are here. Let's see. Where did I leave off? I went past that one. There was Laura. There was Evan. Okay. Shanquila asked about the gluten-free products, and I talked about the enzymes. Terry's from San Diego. Homa's in California. Kelly says hello from Indiana. Barbara says, oh, hello, Texas from y'all. That's right. Thank you for that in Bloomfield. Lilu's in Los Angeles. Lucia's in Tucson. Let's see. Gina says, see you this weekend in Douglasville, Dr. Tom. Okay. Oh, that's right. There's a conference this weekend in Douglasville. Yes. Unfortunately, Gina, I'm not going to be there. I'm recording the presentation tomorrow. So Marzi doesn't want me to go, and I quite honestly don't want to leave Geo right now. I've taken 2 trips this year. One to Lisbon and Milan, and I taught there, and then one into the US to California, Chicago, and Florida. First trip, I was gone 10 days. The second trip, 8 days. And Gio changed a lot while I was gone. And the first trip, he wouldn't eat while I was gone. He just continually breastfed, just wanted that security. And so, he was in no danger, but he just wouldn't eat any food.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came home, he started eating up a storm. And the second trip, when I came home from the second trip, he was just a different boy. There's so much growth that, I'm not, so we can do this remote now. So for a while,
absolutely,
it's going to be remote. I'm sorry, I won't be in Douglasville this weekend, but my presentation will be there and it's a good one. I hope you enjoy it. Philip says, again from Seattle, my second time here and glad to participate. Thank you, Philip. Thanks for coming back. Quincy says, I think I need to buy these books for my parents that are in their 60s. That's a good point. Yes, maybe for our elders, they'll get the point. That's really great. Lucia says, I have that plant in my bedroom. Way to go, Lucia. Janet says, I must get that plant. There's actually a list of plants. Get the handout, and there's a big list of plants, and mother-in-law's tongue is one of them. It's a good one. Mm-hmm. Monica says, can you have the mother's tongue plant in your bedroom? And I don't know why not. Although if it reminds you of your mother-in-law, and if that's not a good reminder, that
you don't want her in your bedroom.
Gina says, we will miss you. After I heard you speak there 6 years ago, I haven't eaten gluten since. Oh, thank you, Gina. Thank you for that. Lucia said, I do have one in my bedroom and another in my bathroom. Yep, way to go. Yep. And for people who say, oh, I don't have a green thumb, the plants will die. You buy more.
Yeah.
Right? You buy more and you'll learn how to work with plants, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're really cost effective. I think this was like $16. So it's exactly, you could totally do it.
Yeah, we of course have the air filtration systems in our house. And so if you can afford it, you get an air filtration system. Ideally, it would be a whole house system if you can. If not, you get a room unit and you move the thing around. We are renting a house here, and we're building a house, but we're renting a house now. And so we have a portable unit, and it goes in the bedroom at night where we're sleeping. And during the day, it goes in the room where Marzi and Gio take naps. And so you just unplug it and move it around where you need it to go.
Absolutely.
When my daughter moved into her new house with my 2 grandchildren, it was a 3-level house. The playroom was on the lower level, the kitchen, dining room, living room on the main level, and the bedrooms upstairs. I bought them 3 units, right? Because they don't have time to carry things around, but and it was a newly remodeled house, new plumbing, new electrical, new walls, all of that. And I shuddered a little bit because that means all of those toxic chemicals from the building supplies, if you don't know how to use green building supplies, if you've not learned about that yet, then those toxic chemicals, they outgas for years.
Absolutely.
Like kitchen cabinets, if they're not solid wood cabinets, if they're pressed board, they're soaked in formaldehyde. And formaldehyde outgasses into the air for years. You can't smell it, taste it, or see it, but it's there.
Absolutely.
And that's why you want air filtration systems, or at least mother-in-law's tongue.
Yes. Yes, and I have both. I have an air filter and then also an mother-in-law's tongue in each one of our bedrooms. But there was a study, an interesting study, now that we're talking about green spaces, Dr. Tom, recently published in the Gut Microbiome in 2021, so just a couple months ago. Researchers actually at the University of Alberta found that they looked at over 400 infants, and these boys with a bacterial composition that was high in a bacteria called Bacteroides at the age of 1 were found to have more advanced cognition and language skills 1 year later. And that's because this Bacteroides are one of the few bacteria that actually produce metabolites called sphingolipids, which is an instrumental in the formation and the structure of the neurons in the brain. And how are you going to get that? Right? Factors that influence the gut microbiota composition in infants, including breastfeeding. We have high fiber diets, living with a dog or an animal, being exposed to nature and green spaces. So just these simple things that we can do, just like creating these green spaces and being exposed to nature, really does influence our child's brain chemistry.
You know, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, Gio was born in a traumatic emergency C-section.
Mhm.
And we had done all the planning for natural childbirth and all that, but it didn't happen. And so his microbiome at birth was not the microbiome he would have gotten from his mother if he had natural childbirth. And we've been working diligently for the year, and we're running tests every few months on him, and we're seeing his microbiome become more of a normal, natural birth type of microbiome versus the C-section baby, because C-section babies have much higher incidence of asthma and allergies and eczema, and they don't perform as well in school. And it's the bacteria that Dr. Saeed is talking about here that contribute.
Absolutely.
So I tell you all that as background because every morning our coffee ritual, we sit outside and we have our coffee. Now Gio's crawling and he crawls over to the pool, and he always stops about 2 feet from the pool and just sits down and looks at us. And we're saying, yes, okay, you're good. And then he crawls over to the plants. I've got potted plants around the pool. And he looks, and I'm just looking at him, and he looks at me and thinking, how far can I go with this, right? He puts his hand in the plant, and he takes out some dirt. And he looks at me, and I say, okay, that's fine. Put it back. And then he'll put it back, and you like this. And he never grabs the plant anymore to pull the plant out.
Oh.
He grabs some dirt, and I'm good with that, you know. And Marcy's, oh, got to wash his hands. No, leave him in the dirt, you know.
Leave him in the dirt. Let him play in the dirt. Exactly. We got to increase their gut microbiome to help their brain and their body function.
Exactly, and it's organic potting soil, so it's fine. Don't get dirty. Get some dirt under the nails, and
absolutely, and that's what my kids do too. In the morning time, they made it a routine that immediately when they wake up in the morning, they say 10 things that they're thankful for. So we start our day with gratitude and positivity. We've made it a ritual, I mean, as long as we can at least, to go outside. We have a garden, we have fruit trees, and they go check out to see whatever we have growing at that time. And now they're getting their dirt, and they're getting their exposure to nature, and they're grounding. And so they come in and they're like, oh, what can we make with this? Like, and we'll try different things that we can do with it. So, and that increases their creativity. Sometimes they're like, oh, we got all these tomatoes, let's make a jam. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to do that. Let's figure this out with a little bit of honey. And, so whatever they want to do that morning with an omelet, or they're coming up with all these funner ideas with all these things that we're growing from the garden. But to incorporate these things that Dr. Tom and I both talk about into your child's daily routine. Dr. Tom, I love that, how you've now made that part of your routine. And so as the child grows and we can keep this part of their routine, for a child, because their brain is developing, they need that structure, and it decreases the stress, and it helps empower this child that, to really, to optimize their brain and body function with all of these simple things that you're incorporating into their daily routine.
It's so critically important. If we are going to save the planet, and you threw out some startling statistics, and some people have heard about this World Health Organization thing that we're losing all of our topsoil. The soil's turning to dirt because we're using these chemicals that kill the bacteria in the soil. And so we're killing the microbiome of the planet, and it's so bad. And they've been writing about this for many, many years, and nobody pays attention, and no policies change. But now it's so bad that this landmark study came out. World Health Organization made sure every medical society in the world got it, that says there's only 60 growing seasons left. And that was 5 years ago, which means 55 growing seasons are left now, because the soil is being converted to dirt. We're killing the soil with all of these chemicals. And you can't grow plants in dirt.
No.
Plants won't grow. They grow in soil, and soil means rich, luscious with life, you know, the microbiome of the soil. And we, of course, are doing it to ourselves. And that's why, if you've been following theDr.com at all, or if you follow Dr. Saeed, it's the same thing. The number one, that there's only one thing you're going to do, only one thing outside of life and daily life and getting by to be healthier, it's build a healthy, diverse microbiome.
Absolutely.
That has more octopus arm benefits than anything else that you can do. And that's why. And that's why Dr. Saeed's talking about with her kids, they go out in the garden every morning, they see what's happening out there. They're walking out there maybe barefoot because they're getting grounded in the soil, you know, they're connecting to the earth. And we want to teach our children these basic concepts that are foreign to us as adults. They're foreign. I mean, everybody saw Pretty Woman. And when he walks barefoot in the grass, you know, he's like ready to make a commitment now, right? He's ready to get outside of his zone, right? But he grounded himself in the grass, in between the streets, right? Okay.
It is so powerful. And just exactly, and just to sort of incorporate these pieces into your daily routine, to your children's daily routine. You know, my kids know vegetables, clean protein, healthy fats. We eating the rainbow. And then so I have a drawer full of vegetables, a drawer full of fruit, and different colors with some sort of protein source. They know to go down the list, and then I stock my house up with success.
Yes.
And you know, because they can have pancakes and they can have brownies, they can have those things. They're not going to be addicted to them because it's not, you know, they're actually nourishing food. So just a couple bites of like an almond flour cupcake would be really satiating for them. But then they don't feel like they're being deprived, to really surround their little bodies with yes, you can eat this. Yes, you can eat that. Yes, you can have that. You want pasta? Yes, there's lentil pasta. You want lasagna? There's almond flour lasagna. You want pancakes? I got cassava flour here that is a prebiotic that we can have this as a treat. Right. And so the kids are never really deprived of anything. We just find different alternatives for the things that they want to eat. So when we live a life around these simple principles, and it keeps the frustration and the stress really low when you're empowered and don't feel like because I think that's another thing that we get, Dr. Tom, is like, they're kids, just let them eat whatever they want.
Right.
No, we can't just let them eat whatever they want. We got to diversify the gut microbiome as best as possible. And this is the time to do it. We can't destroy it with all the sugar and artificial chemicals. And
unfortunately, what we're up against is that the major international corporations have hired PhDs who are superb at understanding how to stimulate the addictive neurons on your tongue and that go up to your brain. And so they make the foods taste and have the chemicals in them that kids get addicted to.
Absolutely.
So you can't let them eat what they want when they've been eating all this garbage for years. There's a transition. And the recipes that Dr. Saeed's talking about, they're in my books, they're in her books.
Yes.
It's not difficult to find the sources now. It just takes a little time to do it.
Absolutely, because our kids are addicted to junk food more now than ever before. And they're manipulating our food system, and education that we receive about food is really being manipulated. They're spending billions of dollars on this colorful advertising of fake foods to our children, especially minority groups. Don't get me started on that. But, you know, junk food advertisements are on television. They're given out as rewards at school and gifts in school and social media and in the lunchrooms, and getting our kids hooked and really customers for life. There was actually studies that show that that if there's a commercial, the child will consume 45% more of that food.
Right, because they're watching it on television, they're watching it and being told what to think and what to do. Philip has a question. I've always loved the sound of a baby crying. I guess I'm just weird that way, but from a joy point of view, not anything else. So is it okay to let them cry? Some think they are trying to tell us something, so we better comfort them immediately. Well, that's a really interesting question, Philip. And I'm with you in that I think crying for an infant is the only way that they can communicate.
Absolutely.
When there's frustration. Now, I'm always discerning for pain. You know, if I hear pain, I'm on it immediately.
Mhm.
If and I'm searching, you know, it's a horrible thing, but we have this nice little changing table that was built beautiful out of teak. It's just this gorgeous, simple thing. But you know, the diapers are on the second shelf, and the little salve is on the shelf on the top, and all that. And I'm in charge of poopy diapers. That's my thing. But grabbed a diaper one day, didn't even think, but just caught my eye. There was a scorpion inside the diaper.
Oh my
There-
gosh.
There was a scorpion. And if I hadn't seen that, and I had put the diaper on him, and he would be crying in pain. Scorpions here are not life-threatening, but they're like a really bad mosquito bite or a bee sting. But he'd be crying in pain. I'd never know why. So
Yeah, absolutely.
if I hear pain in
Mhm.
his cry, I'm on it and I don't stop until I can understand where it's coming from. If it's a
Absolutely.
frustration, if it's a just expressing himself, I'll say, I know, I feel the same way right now too.
Yeah. Empathize with them, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, there's a lot of crying it out method. I know that's been around, especially for sleep training, Dr. Tom. And I really dove into this too, because that's one of the things. Oh, just let them cry, let them fall asleep. And that's been around since 1880s. But now recent sciences have actually showed that when we let a child that's really distressed, that can actually cause a little bit more harm to that child, because as a child grows from being held, as that specific crying, I mean, think about it. Would you like to be just left in a room crying all day long without knowing where your parents have gone? That's really traumatic. And actually that can even like kill off some neuronal connections, because too much stress then can activate and actually suppress the glial cell division and the glial cells to take care of the myelin. They take care of the myelination. And so specifically for a child, like let's say crying it out method, now that we're talking about this, kids don't know how to self-regulate. So they actually just sort of stop trusting. And so the best way to do that, especially at night, if that's what, I don't know if that's also what she's talking about, to create a sort of like a soothing routine. And then there's something called gentle sleep training, where you can hold your child. And this is what I did with mine. And it was so awesome. Yes, they were, if you're just holding them, you're sitting there patting their backs and giving them I used to give them my scarf where they would smell. And then I'm like, no, you just got to sleep right here. And I'm right here next to you. And they'll whine a little bit, maybe cry just a little bit. You're soothing them the entire time, just to recognize that would just probably last for, like 10, 15 minutes, just while I'm soothing them. And then after that, they, as you're holding them, you're singing to them, you're soothing them through the crib, knowing that this is where their new beds are, depending. Because for me, I had lots of other babies, one after another. If I had them all in my bed, it was it was really, my sleep was suffering. So really showing them this way, and that way you have more gentle, mindful sleep training. And that way the child was able to understand that you're not going anywhere. Oh, she just wants me to sleep here. So that was just something, a side note in that crying that we hear a lot of.
Yeah, Marzi is has a very similar approach. That
Yes.
she does not agree with letting babies.
No. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine.
Right. And that's a whole long discussion in
That's
itself.
a whole long discussion. So I just
And
wanted to
some
just point that out there.
People will feel threatened because they may have done that with their children, and their children slept good. Their kids are great now, and all of that.
Yeah.
And so
Every child's different.
You're right. They may want to defend that position, but there's new science.
There's lots of new science out there,
And
and there's lots of different ways to do it. And whatever works best for your family, Dr.
Right.
Whatever works best for your family, that's what really matters.
Janet is asking, what supplement do you use for the microbiome?
Probiotics.
Our,
Sport-forming
our,
probiotics.
our major emphasis is the diet.
Absolutely,
Food.
especially for children. Oh, absolutely, and adults, but really prioritizing it also with your family and your children,
Right.
because again,
Right.
your children's gut microbiomes are growing and changing, so it's important to support that.
Critically important, and unfortunately, it can't be done with the supplement. We recommend probiotics during transition time, but we're really wanting all of our people to transition their life into eating prebiotics every day. And so you start learning what are prebiotics. They're the foods that feed the good bacteria in your gut. They don't feed the bad guys, they only feed the good guys. And so you want to make sure you're eating those every day. And then probiotics, fermented vegetables.
Absolutely.
Dr. Saeed talked about her son wanted some sauerkraut because he ate too much sugar the day before and felt his tummy was off a little bit. So he knows how to kind of help put the good guys back in there.
Exactly. And that's what I've started to doing. And again, incorporating this into your daily routine. In my house, we love to incorporate that fermented vegetable in breakfast time. So I have there's kimchi, there's all these different types of fermented vegetables, and every day I'll put out a different one just to increase the biodiversity. And they'll have that with their pasture raised eggs or their smoothie bowl today. Nowadays, actually, this is like my new favorite thing to do with the kids, and they love it. I've been doing it during the pandemic time, is creating smoothie bowls, and where literally I will put in all the colors of the rainbow and even things that kids normally wouldn't eat, like zucchini and cauliflower and broccoli sprouts and kale sprouts, other microgreens, kale, spinach, collards, you name it, it goes into the smoothie, along with amla and Isola berries and aronia berries and dragon fruit and passion fruit. So all of the kiwis, blueberries, turmeric, ginger, I'll stick that all in a smoothie, and
then you blend it up.
You blend it up. Absolutely. It turns into ice cream, because especially if you freeze a zucchini and you freeze the cauliflower, and none of those, you can't even really taste any of those.
Wow.
And the fruits and the vegetables that you're putting in there, I have pomegranate powder I'll stick in to really increase the achromansia. The kids know that. And we'll mix that together, create like a smoothie bowl. We top it with grain-free granola, with sunflower pumpkin seeds, and then goji berries. And the kids are absolutely, I'll throw my collagen in there, in the smoothie, but it's so delicious. And the kids feel like they're eating ice cream for breakfast. Yeah. And then the more diverse foods you can feed them, the more diverse their gut microbiome is. And I found that, so with their smoothie bowl, I'll even give like a bite or two of sauerkraut or kimchi or whatever that is. And to really, that it's so much fun when they're like, yay, we get this ice cream for breakfast. I'm like, yeah.
Now, what you're hearing from Dr. Saeed is postdoctorate, post-PhD levels mothering. And it takes years to learn how to do all that kind of stuff. But you start with just some basics. And I'm sure in your books, you've got basic recipes for smoothies.
Very basic. And I talk about all of those in here and starting off, Dr. Tom, where your child is at.
Yeah.
If your child is a type that only eats brownies and pastas or brownies and burritos all day long, then for the brownies, yeah, great. Switch it out for almond flour brownies, And if your child is eating burritos or pasta, that meat sauce that you're making, they don't know what's in there. So I'll stick in, actually, I put lots of broccoli sprouts in there. I put cauliflower, riced up cauliflower. I'll stick that in there. In the meat sauce, I'll do the bone broth, shiitake mushrooms, whatever different types of mushrooms I have. I'll put that into the meat sauce
Mhm.
And then I'll use that with the lentil pasta with some bone broth that I've cooked the sauce in. But here your kids are still enjoying their same delicious foods, but with just a healthier version of it. And then I do the same thing with burritos, which my kids are like, yes, it's burrito night or taco night. You can find taco shells made out of cassava flour and burrito wraps made out of cassava flour that are delicious. Is a great treat that I just put my broccoli sprouts or my coleslaw down with some pinto beans, and then so this meat sauce or whatever that we have with some ground beef with all these veggies in it, and then salsa, and then wrap that up with a little avocado oil, toast it. And now they're feeling like, oh my gosh, we feel like we're in a Mexican restaurant. And they don't feel like they're being deprived. And that's really
my mouth is watering.
I know.
Watering.
Well, I can't wait till you come over, Dr. Tom. You know that I love to feed people. I know I've cooked for you before too, so therefore I can't wait for you to come to Chicago again, so that I can cook for you too.
I would look forward to that. That's really
but so empowering. There's so much that we as parents can do and not just leave it up to chance. And you just start off with these simple, easy tips and incorporate them into your daily routine, one day, one meal at a time. Amen
to that. Well, Dr. Saeed, I mean, it's the hour is up. I mean, it just goes so fast, and my mouth is watering now. I want to get something. So thank you very much. Everyone, please consider the links are here for the books. Order the books. Let's support this wonderful, wonderful woman, giving so much to all of us by living the most conscious, healthy life and raising the healthiest children that she possibly can. So let's support her. And yes, and we'll look forward to seeing you on down the road, Dr. Saeed. Thank you so very much.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so incredibly honored.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. See you next week.